think all too often I see agency owners building a business around themselves. They are the living, breathing brand, and they're stuck.
Welcome to the Happy Clients Podcast, brought to you by Dot & Company. Whether you're a virtual assistant, an agency owner, or a client-facing account manager, we all deal with clients. Lucky for you, client management is what we do best. Now, let's dig in, chat cam life, and have some fun along the way. Cheers to Happy Clients.
E2M is a proud sponsor of the Happy Clients Podcast. If you're running a digital agency, you know the hardest part isn't getting clients. It's delivering consistently without burning out your team or hurting margins. E2M helps agencies scale confidently as a behind-the-scenes, white-label fulfillment partner. From web development and SEO to paid media, US-based content, e-commerce, and even AI, they plug into your agency so your clients get great results under your brand. No freelancers, no chaos, just reliable delivery that helps you keep clients happy and growing. Find out how E2M can support your agency at e2msolutions.com/dot.
Well, welcome back to another episode of the Happy Clients Podcast. Today I'm joined with Sarah, our sales manager, and Tiffany, director of operations here at Dot. And we want to have an honest conversation about why agency owners hold off on bringing an account manager in, even when they know that it's the right move. So Sarah, what do you hear from agency owners? They come to you and they know deep down that an account manager is something they need, but they're stalling. They're like, I just need to wait a few months, or they think they're not quite ready. What are some of those objections or reasons that they come to you with?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, of course, every day I'm chatting with multiple agency owners that are feeling the pain of this role. And we always speak about this role as being the glue in an agency. So when the agency owner is in that seat, as well as growing, scaling, focused on revenue, it's a lot. So when I chat with agency owners that are a little bit, they know they have a pain, they know we can solve it, but they're still hesitant, it's usually down to a few things. So number one, I would say they're looking for one more client to bring on before they can bring us on. So whether that is financially related, whether that is workload related, more hours for the account manager to handle, it really boils down to the chicken and the egg situation. So let's say you need an account manager right now. The pain is so high, but you just need one more client. Is one more client onboarding them in and then onboarding an account manager in going to solve the problem? Or the proactive approach of a lot of agency owners that also come to us is, if I have one more client, I'm going to be overload and I'm going to lose any essence of freedom and flexibility in my day. So before agencies get too far with one more client, that's usually when I suggest the time is actually right now to bring somebody on.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to timing, is that more of a revenue-based concern, or is it a workload concern?
Yeah, I would say it's both, but number one, usually people look at revenue. So they say, if I just have one more client, then it just makes financial sense to bring you on. But in the essence of, if you were to just, increase happiness, increase retention across the current clientele, that keeps you steady. And then we can bring on multiple more clients. You don't just need one more client in order to grow. Once we're on board, we can take multiple. Mm-hmm. So revenue really, at the end of the day, isn't actually the problem. Mm-hmm. I think it's really onboarding a new person and also removing that control too. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of agency owners struggle with sometimes passing over relationships and passing over clients, but they know they're stuck and they can't actually scale without doing so.
Yeah. I love, you just said two key things that I hear over and over and over again. It's one, it's going to take too much lift for me to onboard this person. And they're thinking, I'm already basically burnt out.
Right.
How am I going to then spend another big chunk of my time training this person? And two, how do I let go of control? So I'd love to dig into the first one, being this is going to take me so much time and effort to train this person up. How does it actually work in practice with someone like a fractional account manager versus going out and hiring someone yourself?
Yeah, I would say the number one added benefit of bringing someone like Dot & Co on is you're not just bringing on a client account manager who's an expert and then you have to get them up to speed with everything. We actually have a team of senior managers that manage each individual account manager. So what that looks like is when you onboard in, we already have the first 30 days mapped out. It's really just understanding our framework audit. So we kind of go through a whole 4-pillar system with agency owners. We want to understand what the priorities are. So whether that is project management, is that operations, is that client happiness and retention? And then once we kind of work backwards from there, that's what the next 30 days are going to look like. We also require onboarding information from you before we're even in the seat. So our team does a very good job of saying we need A, B, and C from you, as opposed to you bringing somebody on in-house being like, where do I even start with this account manager?
Yeah. They come already trained.
Totally.
They're already account management experts. So it's just like the cherry on top that they have to learn is your agency.
Yeah.
Things like that. Yeah. I'd be curious, Tiff, to hear from your perspective, because you've worked in a lot of agencies and worked with agency owners. When it comes to that control piece, like agency owners are scared to let go of that control and thinking that, oh, if I introduce an account manager, my clients are going to leave, or they're going to think that I'm just running away and they never get to talk to me again. But what have you seen in terms of, like, we know that's not true. That's not how it actually feels in real life. But what have you seen?
Yeah, I think all too often I see agency owners building a business around themselves. They are the living, breathing brand, and they're stuck and they can't get out because they feel like their clients will feel like they signed on for them and they'll feel abandoned if they step away. And I always say to them, don't build your business around a person, right? Don't build your business around yourself. Don't build your business around the person that sits in the account management seat. Even when we step in, build it around a process that delivers exceptional quality and anybody can step in and do and replicate. And truly, I think when we finally get the opportunity to pull the agency owner out and we can deliver on that quality service, they start to realize, okay, maybe all my clients weren't just here because of me. And maybe I'm not the sole thing holding them here. And it's possible to set things up in a repeatable way that anyone can step in and deliver on. And so I'm not tied to this seat.
I think that's key. And the fear, I think, comes from this lack of control, where most agency owners have never had someone in this seat. They've never had somebody to talk to their clients. They've never had the space away from their clients. And they feel that when someone comes in, they're going to lose that control. But rather, it doesn't have to feel like that, you know, and it doesn't, it shouldn't. So Sarah, how do we integrate, like walk us through what that actually looks like when we start, you're not just like handing over your clients and saying, see you later, but like, how do we make that a gradual thing?
Yeah, I would say a huge benefit of starting with something like Dot & Co is we're very flexible in our engagements. And we also understand the stressors an agency owner faces every day and how much control that actually means to them. So when we onboard in, our first 30 days is really ramping up, getting to know the day-to-day of the actual agency. So week 1 is typically kickoff calls with the internal team. It's getting to know Asana or teamwork, SOPs, processes. If you don't have anything built out, that's where we start. And then usually week 2, 3, that's more us shadowing. So understanding on the back end what projects are being run, where needs the most support, as well as what clients are we going to be dealing with. And then by week 4, that's when we're usually fully integrated in the day-to-day of the agency. So really just understanding how everybody's chatting with each other, the priorities, the clients, the meeting cadence, what needs to be actually revamped potentially. And then usually going into week 5, into month kind of 2, 3, that's where we start to take that load off of clients in the sense of let's jump on calls and start shadowing. And let's see if we can start to pass that borrowed trust over.
So when we start working in the agency, is there like an average of how long it takes to get the agency owner removed from that client-facing seat? Or what's kind of the average journey? Because I know there's extremes to that where some agency owners never leave the day-to-day and some turn around and they're gone tomorrow. But what's kind of that expectation you would set?
Yeah, I would say it's very subjective, and it can vary depending on the agency owner's role at the agency, or even the COO or whoever else is on that leadership team that's stuck in the account management role. I would say our priority is to get them out as soon as possible, because that always helps, and that's typically why they bring us on. But usually by month 3, that's when we're integrated, we're hitting the ground running. All the way into month 6, that's when it's like, we are fully this role. We're owning the SOPs, the processes, the systems are a well-oiled machine, and we're continuously optimizing things as we go.
Yeah. On that note, thinking about 3-6 months in, that's a really big pivotal moment for agency owners when things start to shift. Now, a concern that I hear from time to time is, okay, what if we get to that 3-6 month mark, things are great, and then my account manager leaves, or they go on maternity leave, or just something happens and then we have to start all over. How do you approach that, Tiff, in the day-to-day of DOT, and what processes and systems are in place so that it's seamless versus if you're hiring somebody in-house, like that is a whole different, you're dealing with all that yourself, but how do you approach that at DOT?
Yeah, I'd say we've analyzed this quite a bit. And the pain is always surrounding context. Having somebody that can step into the engagement and have all the historical context they need to guide the conversations is really what makes the difference. People don't want the frustration and pain of repeating themselves again. They want to know that everything they just built on is going to continue growing, and they're not going to have to start from ground zero. So at DOT, we document everything. That's why we have such a thorough process for our SOPs, our checklists, so that the new person can not only step in and process things in the same way and deliver the same experience, but they actually have these mini guides behind the scenes that say, here's the best way to step into the conversation. Here's something challenging we went through, and that's something really impactful that you should step in understanding. And I think people underestimate the power of a good set of notes to prepare somebody to step into a situation and quickly understand, the historical context. And I think that's something we do really well in transitions, is that it almost doesn't feel like a negative thing, but rather, hey, we've got a fresh set of eyes on these processes. Now we get a new perspective and things can continue growing and iterating. And it's almost exciting to see the next growth wave of everything that the first account manager was building.
Absolutely. It shouldn't feel like a cutoff and like a start from scratch situation. It should feel like this seamless overflow of, if someone's leaving, it's okay. You don't have to do the heavy lifting. Versus if you're hiring account managers yourself and you're managing that, if somebody leaves, you're the one who has to go back out, post the job, go through applicants, interview, train them, give them that context because that person's already gone. Versus with someone like DOT, it's just this flow. Like you don't have to do that yourself, which I think gives a lot of agency owners the breathing room that they need, and it doesn't disrupt the growth of the agency, which is the goal.
Totally. And what I find a lot of the time is agency owners will have an account manager in-house on their team. They build a great relationship with them. 3-4 years later, that account manager moves on, and then they're stuck with that role. And typically they don't hire again. Like the agency owner I've seen a lot of the time will just absorb that role. And then they come to me being like, I am so overwhelmed. I've been the account manager, the project manager, the agency owner, the strategist for 1.5 years now. So how can I offload this? And it also just pours into they're stuck. Like they're not scaling, they're not growing. They haven't been since that account manager left, which just shows how integral this role is. And using someone like Dot & Co., we have over 30 account managers. It's kind of the benefit of this role in the sense of you have an account manager from Dot. If they go on maternity leave, we have 30 other people that are ready to step in with all the context, all the history, understanding that they are experts in this role with that fresh set of eyes as well.
Without the agency owner having to lift a finger or stall growth or take on a workload.
Yeah.
Like we don't want that.
Yeah.
That is not the goal.
And I think a lot of agency owners talk about it as being risky. Like, how could I outsource such an important part of my business? Like the client relationships are everything. And I always think, like, how could you not? Like, it's riskier, in my opinion, to hold all the cards in one person's hands internally. And then the second that their person, they do move on in life at some point, then you're stuck with no handle on the situation, no path forwards. You have to hire for the role, train for the role, maybe bring somebody up to par with like the caliber of work that they were delivering. And it's almost scarier to put all your eggs in your own basket than saying, I just know no matter who comes or goes, my clients, the most important part of my business, are always going to be taken care of.
Yep.
I also think that's the scary part for agency owners that do have in-house account managers that leave and they worry about client churn. I think it's because the whole process is disrupted and there is no solution right away. Whereas with Dot & Co., if there was somebody that won the lottery tomorrow and left, we have people to step in immediately, and we have the historical context from the senior managers to understand what's going on and support with the offboarding and the transition. Like it really shouldn't be on the agency owner because things might get slipped through.
Yeah, exactly. So Sarah and Tiff, when an agency owner finally decides to move forward, they're like, okay, I've waited for 6 months. The pain is as painful as it can get. I'm ready to bring in an account manager. What are some of those aha conversations that they might have with either of you when they're on the other side and they're like, wow, I should have done this 6 months ago? What are some of the things that maybe they said, oh, I thought it would be this way, but it's actually this way? Like, what are some of those aha moments for them?
Yeah, I feel like a lot are coming to mind. I think number one is when systems and processes aren't as built out as agency owners actually realize. So, for example, I was just chatting with an agency owner the other day, and they were mentioning how all of their communication is back and forth on Slack with their team. And they were like, we kind of have Notion, but nobody's owning it. So I think having an account manager, first of all, own that dedicated seat and be like the manager of the internal team and of the clients, that helps with a huge load. But also once they're in that seat, they're able to actually build out Notion or even recommend maybe Asana is better for these types of projects. And they can then own that system, own the process, and have things not slip through the cracks or not be missed through a Slack thread. So I think that's a huge lift 6 months down the line when they bring us on, is like, we have a well-oiled machine and it's actually scalable at this point as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think one of the biggest like changes in perspective that I see with agency owners is when they start viewing the account management role not as overhead anymore, but they realize that that was always a growth lever for their business. And, you know, I feel like we all understand that, you know, growth isn't found through acquisition, it's found through retention. But people don't think about that as a growth strategy until they get somebody in the seat that does account management with such intentionality that they are strategists in themselves because of the way that they're showing up for clients. Like, it's not a job to be reactive and just respond to people when they reach out to you. If you dedicate somebody to the seat that can show up in such a way that they're engaging the clients proactively, they're stepping in with this mindset to surprise the clients and delight and deliver with, you know, that personal touch for every report, I think you start to realize that that is a growth lever in the business. And that's a huge way that, you know, you're going to hit the next level and scale.
I do feel like that's also the way in general how Dot & Co operates. I know we've been chatting about it a lot the past few days of like the book Unreasonable Hospitality. And it's even at Vistara how we as Dot & Co showed up. There were over 200 attendees and we personally customized each cookie with each brand's logo on it. And so we had them all out on our 2 booths and agencies would come up to us and be like, this is unbelievable. Like you got my new logo. Like you put that on a cookie. And to us, it's like, of course we did. Like that feels simple. But to agencies, they're like, wow, if we did that for our clients, we would just be 100 steps ahead.
Yeah. It's all those things that compound and make your agency special. And that goes a long way. And like Tiffany said, this is a retention protection role, truly. Not only are we growing accounts, but we're protecting what makes your business successful, which is your revenue. So Sarah, any like last tips for somebody who's on the fence? They know they need an account manager. The pain is there. What should they do?
Yeah, I would say number one is we don't have to take it all at once. We can take it bite by bite. So understanding that Dot & Co is here for a reason. We're experts in this account management seat, and that's not just our client account managers, that's our senior leadership team. So we are there to support you with the ramp up, the onboarding, the offloading, so that you're not actually responsible for bringing on this role, hiring, managing, training. We've got that all sorted. I would say once that pain is enough, where either you're in the seat or you're losing revenue or you're closing off sales because you can't take on much more, that is the perfect time to start the conversation.
Amazing. Well, I'm happy that I got you both on here because any agency owner that reaches out gets to chat with Sarah and then eventually Tiffany when we start working together. So if you're on the fence, please just reach out and have a conversation. I think it helps so much because you're in your own world as an agency owner. You're in the day-to-day, you're feeling this pain, but sometimes it's nice to just chat with somebody like Sarah and just hear what other agencies are doing and what's working for them and what might be a solution for you now or in 3 months, 6 months from now.
I also think a huge conversation that I have with agency owners that come to me in the very unknown kind of stage is I have an account manager, they're quite junior, but I don't know what to do about it. And sometimes we'll just have a strategy session and be like, okay, what's working, what's not working? Have you tried a PIP? Do you have a timeline? And then we can even just work through what that looks like. So I'm always open for a conversation with anyone.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for tuning into another episode and we'll see you on the next one.
Cool. Thank you.
Cheers to happy clients.